That presentation from the infogram should be continued with Mr. Krists Avots. He's a head of the marketing from the same company. Krists, you're welcome to have your say. I'm just using technology, entrepreneurship as a career choice. That would be the focus on your presentation.
Hi, good afternoon. Well, I'm not actually a head of marketing. I just wrote down marketing at Infogram. But yes, I'm from Infogram as well. You kind of get the same company repeating here, for better or for worse. But today I'm going to tackle a little bit different topic. I'm going to talk about entrepreneurship as a career choice and what does it imply for being an educator. Right, so quickly about me. Yes, I am from Infogram. I also happen to work in Stockholm School of Economics in Riga. You probably saw my colleague Fion before Nika, so repeating again. And I've been involved in an organization called Garage 48, which is a non-profit organization started by a big bunch of startup entrepreneurs to help a new generation of young tech entrepreneurs or wannabe tech entrepreneurs to launch their first ventures. And this experience and lessons learned I'm going to mostly refer to during my next 15 minutes or so. So lately there's been quite a lot of buzz around keywords like tech startup, etc. Probably everyone in the world has heard about big things like Google, Facebook, and what have you, right? Those are kind of the unicorns, like one of things that you can't produce at scale. But still, this area does matter. And why does it matter? Let's see, here's a graph reflecting investment in tech startups. This is an example from Estonia, but this could very well, we could see similar things in Latvia, Lithuania, take the whole region. Just was the best country to take for data availability. What you see is the red column is investment in young tech startups, meaning that companies which are in the phase of team building something, right? They're not big companies doing outsourcing centers or whatever. And the yellow line is the number of deals. And we're in 2016. This is like, what, March? And you can imagine how will the red chart look by end of the year if it's almost at the same level as last year in the first 3 months of the year. Here's some other facts. There are roughly 20,000 people working in the industry of technology and ITC in particular here in Latvia. And this number will probably go up by half in the next 5 years. And that's a very modest prediction. And at the moment, there are roughly 1 million empty vacancies in tech area in EU. That's a prediction by European Union, right? So the one takeaway I can get from here is that this thing is here for stay, right? Technologies are around us on a daily basis. All of us use smartphones. There are more and more products and services around that, and that's going to be a big area of new startups and new employment for upcoming years to come. So, a couple words about what is Garage 48. So as I said, it's a startup community or a non-profit organization founded and run by startup entrepreneurs. So everyone has a day job in a startup company trying to build something, and then as a side thing, trying to get young people to do more and more startups. The biggest thing that we do is called Hackathon. Hackathon is a very short and super intensive training program where you come in with an idea or without an idea. You pitch an idea, get a team, and build something. I'm going to elaborate about that in a second. We've also been doing longer programs specially dedicated for students. We do have a co-working space in Estonia where we run a lot of community events on different topics, basically every day. And we have been serving as advisors to a bunch of developing countries to try to enhance the entrepreneurship ecosystem there. For example, Georgia, Moldova, Belarus, Ukraine, etc. Now, I mentioned the word hackathon. Probably most of you do not know what does it stand for. So here's a little explanation. So imagine you have 100 people of different backgrounds. There might be IT, might be design, might be business, might be none of a both, but just a good idea that one wants to make happen. And we locked them up basically for 3 days. And the program starts with everyone pitching an idea, whatever he or she has in mind, and trying to get a team, right? Now this might sound a little bit techy, but actually the best ideas I've seen and heard in these programs and seen in development typically come from very unsuspected tech entrepreneurs, be they housewives, be they working in healthcare, in agriculture, whatever. And some specific industries where technology can help to boost employment or efficiency, etc. So you pitch an idea, you get a team, and team formation is very simple. If you like the idea, you join the team, right? And then you have 2 days to take the idea and build it to something that works. Something that works means that when you do a final demo, everyone in the room should be able to open the product and see how it works. And that's a very tough challenge, right? In 2 days to build something that works, it is really, really tough. Now, how do we do that? We have quite a well-developed way of mentoring the teams and basically kicking them, dragging them through blood and tears to make things happen. And that's kind of a tough experience, but we believe it's quite valuable experience. So outcomes, we have had roughly 45 bigger programs so far in a bunch of countries. I think around 14, I might be wrong, but mostly around Baltics and Eastern Europe. And we've had about 3,500 participants who developed about 500 working prototypes. Now, working prototype implies that there's also a team behind it, right? So this is a little bit like a dry fact. So why do people join such programs, and what's kind of the expected outcome, right? One good way to think of it is it's a way to test your idea, okay? If you think you have a good idea, well, you're definitely going to need a team to make it happen, right? And you might want to build some kind of early prototype to see if there's anyone out there in the market who's willing to use it or to buy it, right? So this is a very easy way that doesn't take a lot of time to see if you can get a team, and once you've built something in 2 days, go out of the building and try to talk to potential users, or do that during the process. Probably the biggest value added is that you meet a potential co-founder or potential colleague or a partner in some other ventures. Now, there's a big emphasis on saying the potential, because frankly, as one of my colleagues in Garage for Dead put it, the chance that you'll get a working team in short training programs, it's about the same as a boy meets girl in the club, they have a night out, and they're happily married ever after. So there's a chance, but it's very small, right? However, what you can do is you can see, okay, there are 5 new people who I met in this weekend and work pretty hard with them. Now, if I have another idea, or if I'm serious about business, would I ever call them back? Because I know that we worked well during those 2 days, right? So there's pretty big this networking effect that you can test how it is to work with a number of people under very tough circumstances, and then make a decision, should you call them back at some point or not. There's about 25% chance that you'll get a team, and this team will work on the project for the next 3 or 6 months. That's about the time where your energy and time dries out if you don't sort of achieve first big milestones to get some traction or to get some attention from investors, etc. Yeah, generally that's the moment where most of the teams die. But there's still a chance that you'll get a team and you'll try out something for next half year, which is a pretty good experience. And then there's roughly 3% chance that you'll join the program, you'll get some training, you'll meet a team, and you'll end up with a company that gets funding. Now, you may ask, is it a lot, or if that's not a lot, probably I would say that's a lot. And that's something we should be realistic about any kind of entrepreneurship training programs. You know, if 1 out of 100 or 2 out of 100 makes it to the market, job well done. Now, I would encourage you to think about the rest of 98%. What can we help them with to be more successful with the next attempt? And I think the key there is training right skills, attitude, mindset, just giving good experience. So zooming in, there's 100 teams, and you get maybe 3 teams who reached first investment. But how we do define what's a success for teaching entrepreneurship, right? I don't know if Fionn mentioned it earlier, but he sometimes says something like that entrepreneurship to teaching is like ballet to architecture. It's a little bit awkward, right? So it's hard to match it directly. However, if we can help the rest of 97 teams to learn some skills that will help them to be more successful next time, or they will know whom to call when they want to launch a new enterprise, I would call that as a success. I'll zoom in for a couple of minutes on what, to my mind, takes to become or be a part of those 3%. First of all, about the idea. I strongly believe that good ideas come from real-life problems. And what we have seen that our most successful teams have built IT solutions for agriculture, healthcare, forestry, employment, education, etc. This implies that there was someone in the team who had a specific knowledge about the industry or specific feeling about the issue, and he or she was able to explain this issue to the team, then composing of engineers, designers, etc. Now, a very important part is that one has to be able to speak out loud about the ideas. I mean, when you come on the stage, the chance that you will get a team, well, statistically it's about 50-50. It largely depends on your, how convinced you are that you're trying to solve a real problem, rather than coming up with a pile of facts and slides which no one can understand. And actually, I think these two things, there's something we can help people to improve in a teaching process. Well, first of all, about the ideas, I think Fionn covered this a bit about how to look for ideas, how to just use empathy and go out to on the street and search for real-life problems to solve. And the other thing is speaking out loud about the ideas. It's still a little bit of an issue here in this region. And I think we can definitely do more about that. Then the other big fact is a team. The bigger diversity in the team, the better. Why so? It's going to be a rough start because a person with an engineering background or thinking does not always communicate well with a very creative person or a very business-oriented person. And they typically start off with clashing with each other. But that is the most essential part of teamwork, that you have difference of opinions. And if you can come out of discussion with something all of you agree upon, most likely that's going to be something more valuable than each of the single team members could come up with any single point of time. Another important thing is getting things done. And getting things done in a short time period. And I'm going to give you some examples in context of education in a second. Sorry, I wasn't that. It wasn't me. And lastly, it's about ability to work together under high pressure. And this is something you can only sort of test in live motion, right? You have to make the circumstances where people have the pressure to see if they can go through that. And then zooming in delivery, or ability to get things done. In most cases, done is better than perfect. Namely, when you have something that works that you can show to your potential user, it will be ugly, it will be buggy, etc. But you will have much bigger advantage over a person who's walking around saying, oh, well, I have this brilliant idea, it's going to be $1 million business, and never does the first big step in turning the idea into a prototype that he or she can test with the customers. Iteration is good. This is something that students not always understand very easy. Namely, if you don't get it right the first time, you try to understand what went wrong and try again. And sometimes they're a little bit surprised when they come to us and Fiona and me and say, like, we tried this, it failed, we don't know what to do. And then we're like, yeah, good job. That's a great experience. Like, what? We failed? No, you didn't. That's a learning. And learning probably is the biggest outcome that we can give you as a part of education. Now, the tricky part is to learn from the failures and try again, hopefully with better results next time. Now, how do these statements apply to education? Here's a case from SSC Riga. In Fiona, we teach a course called Laboratory of Entrepreneurship. It's a course for freshman students, and they're business students, right? So what we have is like roughly 120 people in the class, and about 5 of them have some kind of IT skills that might or might not be applicable. They have to propose ideas to develop. And the end examination, so to say, is that they have to, A, deliver a product prototype, B, a small report and lessons learned, and C, they have to pitch the product in front of actual investors. Now, the interesting part is, remember I'm talking about business students. They're coming fresh out of high school. If you look at the ideas that they propose, exactly 1/3 of them were about IT. So apps, websites, businesses based on IT. And this I found a little bit interesting because, 3% of them had any skills that they would be able to build something on their own. But they have so many ideas. And that's the reality, because everyone uses smartphones, tablets, whatever, and they're like, this is what is in front of them on a daily basis. And this is an environment they understand and they want to work with, right? And then the other 2/3, some kind of physical products, design products, anything from printing T-shirts, so basically, typically things that you can see in in junior achievement student businesses. And then a batch of business services. So we were a little bit surprised ourselves. Well, what are we going to do now? Because we have a bunch of business students with no IT background whatsoever, and they want to build IT ideas, but in order to pass the course, they have to show something that works, and they have to pitch it to investors. Actually, there are 2 things that saved the day. One is technology has become super available nowadays. Now, by super available, what I mean is when a student comes to me and says, I want to build a mobile app, but I have no idea whatsoever how to do that, I have just one suggestion to him. Open Google and write in Google how to build a mobile app without programming skills. And trust me, you'll get a lot of answers. And basically I've tried about 30 different free or for some small money paid software services that allow you to build apps and websites like a Lego. You have some bricks and you just drag and drop them together. And it actually works and looks like an app. Now, there are some limitations, but for sake of building a prototype that you can test in the market, works perfectly. The other thing is we applied different sort of perspectives on the process. Now, Fiona is a creative guy, and he was working a lot with the idea generation. While I was more a little bit from the tech perspective, so I was the one pushing the people actually to get things done on the product side. And there are a couple of things that you can do. One is, it's okay if you don't have the skills to build the product on your own. It's not okay if you give up at that point. Instead, we encourage people, you have to be able to learn new things. Because if you're interested in tech, and they are, because that's what kind of ideas they're proposed, then you should have some kind of basic understanding about, what are you talking about, what the business is about. And how to do that, open YouTube, open Coursera. There are plenty of free entry-level courses how to do something, right? So getting understanding right is the first thing. Second thing is trying to understand how engineers think. If they'll go out and try to pitch their ideas to engineers, get them on board, they'll eventually end up with discussion when he or she is, well, this is my idea, and the engineer is asking, well, okay, what's the product specification? What do we have to build? Right? Those two worlds have to be able to speak to each other. Oh, switched too early? But anyway, I think the good part was that every single team who wanted to build a tech idea actually managed to build a working prototype. So my big learning here is, yes, and anyone can do tech in entry level, even without specific skills. All it takes is a little bit open attitude, readiness to learn something, asking Google for tips and tools, a little bit of pressure and advice on how to structure the product development work, which might be a little bit different from classical business services and market research approach. Last thoughts. Well, I would say that tech entrepreneurship is not for everyone, but more and more people, young people, want to go for this area. I don't really believe that tech entrepreneurs can be made in class, and which is totally okay. The 1% success rate we applied to our class as well. If one team in a year manages to do something, that's great success. What we're looking is, can the 99% of the rest of them get something meaningful out so that A, we encourage them to try, and they would try again. Yeah, so it's open for many. There are technologies who have made it possible for, I mean, I've seen 12-year-old kids making 3D games without necessarily knowing how to develop code. It's out there. So what we have to do is to shape the skills and attitudes. And yeah, to create an environment where people can get their first failure. And then hope that with this experience, when they'll go out of the class, the uni, they'll be more successful in whatever they try next. Now, having said that, that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Krists. Would you like to ask any question right after that presentation? Krists, do you believe that some from these methodologies could be transferred right in the classroom? Not talking about the students in Stockholm School of Economics, for example, but in high school, for example.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. I mean, I had a chance with Garage 48 to work in different environments. Not too long time ago, I was teaching a course in Moldova, in year one students in a public university in Moldova. And I mean, they were smart kids. They're not necessarily prepared that well as students in some, let's say, elite universities. But they did a good job. And all of them, again, built something that they were proud of. So my answer is yes.
Okay, that was a presentation to encourage you. So once again, thanks to the Krists as well as to Nika.